Alright, viewer, just go out and see what's left of our fire, if anything. Good afternoon, my friends. It's a fine Saturday afternoon. I went and made my dump run this morning. Stopped and got some gas at the gas station. I got to where I carried some rubber gloves with me in the car, so when I have to get out and pump the gas, I put on one of them rubber gloves and then don't touch anything that anybody else might have touched. And then before I leave, I toss that glove in their garbage container and move on. So I stopped and filled up the Expedition with gas at the gas station down the street here. Done a little bit of work out here today. I gathered up some potting soil and some bark and stuff around my garden area for working, but I'm a little too sore to do a whole lot. I'm having cramps in my legs from so much walking yesterday. So I'm going to do very little today except keep an eye on my fire. So maybe I'll share a little story with you today. I'll share a railroad story with you. Some of you might find interesting. Although I'm not down in the railroad corner, I'm sitting out here on this lawnmower like a lazy King Tut. A good many years ago, I was working on the RIP track, the second shift repair track at Emmett Yards. A good many of my fellow employees will remember this. The car foreman under the shed, his name was Westbrook. Westbrook was the second shift foreman. And I was working track 3 that night with a guy named Adams. Well, the boxcar that we had to roll through, we had already made our repairs. I don't remember what we did to it now. And I was doing an end-date test where you hang the gauges and stuff on the end of the car and check the air brakes. Well, I'm sitting there doing that end-date test, and I look over at what they call a grab iron. It's a handhold on the end of the boxcar, and it's bent. We had overlooked it. Well, they got a bar you can grab a hold of that thing and straighten it if it ain't bent too bad, and straighten it cold. But it was bent just a little too bad for that. I dragged out a heating torch, and I'm heating that grab iron, heating it red hot in an area about this long. The grab iron's good 18, 20 inches long. And when I got it good and hot, I took my grab iron bender bar and straightened it right up. Well, I laid the bar down and looked down the side of the car, continuing my end-date test, and looked up at the top of the boxcar door, and smoke was coming out of it. And immediately I thought about me heating that grab iron. So I hollered over there at Westbrook. Westbrook, what do you want? I'm busy doing paperwork. There's smoke coming out of this car. Do what? All of a sudden I had his attention. Open the door and see what it's loaded with. Sometimes it might just be, some trash or paper or something they caught on fire. And I had started a fire in the car. Well, when I took a hammer and knocked a wedge out of the door hasp and pried the door open, that took a good 5 minutes. It was getting pretty hot in that car. And when I flung the door open about a good foot, all that air and oxygen whooshed right into the car, and all that smoldering product in there caught on fire. Well, it just so happened this car was loaded with cotton, bales of cotton. I can even tell you how many bales were in the car. 110 bales. 110 bales. I think a bale probably weighs about 500 pounds. I hollered back over there at Westbrook. He was still doing his paperwork. It's loaded with cotton, Westbrook. His paperwork went flinging across the damn desk over there, and he come a-running. Looked up in there, and the flames was jumping right out the door. Oh, Lord, what are we going to do? Westbrook was kind of a religious type person, and he went to calling on the Lord. He was praying for all he was worth. And I said, Westbrook, I don't think the Lord's going to help us right now. We need a fire hose. And he went to hollering, move the car out from under the rip track shed. I had to go get the rabbit motor and pull it back. Had to take the air gauges off the car, because when you take the air down off the car, the brakes automatically come on. I had to bleed the air off the car. Take that rabbit motor and move the car out from under the shed, probably about as far as from here to my boat out there. By that time, with some of the other men on the other tracks had already got a fire hose hooked up to the big old fire plug out there we had, and got the fire hoses all stretched out. 2 or 3 of us get on that fire hose, and we just squirting water inside that car like crazy. And I mean, flames was coming out of that Boxcar high as this tree around here. It was cooking. The master mechanic on duty that day was having a meeting of foremen or something in the office. They all come running out to take charge of the fire. He ran around to the other side of the car and pulled the door open, and was squirting with a fire hose into the car with a suicide nozzle. There's no shut-off handle to it. It's just a cone-shaped brass nozzle. Some of you people might know what a suicide nozzle looks like. Solid stream of from a 1.5-inch fire hose. We were squirting water in there like crazy. And when he flung that door open the other side, he got drowned with water bouncing off the roof of that car coming in there. Didn't take him long to get away from there. And we spent the rest of the night unloading bales of cotton with forklifts when we got the flames knocked down. Never did get it fully out. You can't put out a bale of cotton. I guess you dunk it underwater and hold it for a long time, you would. But that cotton smoldered for 2 or 3 days. We had it lined all up and down the road coming into the rip track to get it out of that car. There was a lot of repercussion over that between the insurance companies and a few lies we made up. If it had just been me, I would have got fired, but the cover for that foreman who was supposed to tell me the car was loaded with cotton, we made up a big lie about the car was on fire when it got there. And he forgot all about his religion, you might say. The insurance man came out there to talk to me a few days later, and I told him the lie that I was told to tell him. He went back and said, well, I best go talk to that foreman and see what he says. And he went in there looking for the foreman. The foreman was watching the whole show from a window of the office. He ran out the other side of the door and come around and asked me, what did you tell him? I told him. And he went back in there like he was all innocent, didn't know what was going on. He insurance man talked to him, and he said, "Oh, that's the same thing that carman out there told me. Y'all must be telling the truth." And from a long time after that, people would get on to me and say something every time I picked up a heating torch or a cutting torch. But things happen. My fire burning here yesterday made me think of that fire. That's not a whole lot of story to share with you today, but some of you might find it interesting. Y'all have a good evening. This is Pwalpar gonna go back to the house and watch TV.